Hello and welcome to Football League World TV. On this Friday afternoon, we're going to be honing in on Peterborough United and their prospects in 2022-23. I'm Marcus Ali, and joining me today is Alex Batt, a Posh fan. How are you doing, Alex?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. Very well. Looking forward to it all starting again tomorrow. Well, tonight for the championship as well. But yeah, very excited. How are you? You okay?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Looking forward to getting our teeth into some action over the weekend. Just before we get into the main part of the show, then I'm going to please ask you to get involved in the comments section. I can pose some of your questions to Alex Posh fans. And also, please do drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. So in the first section of this Peterborough looking video, we're going to be talking about the 21-22 season. Hopefully a brief reflection to start with. Obviously, it didn't go to plan, Alex, finishing 22nd in the championship, but potentially some positivity. I just wanted to really focus in on what it was like those final 14 games of the season with Grant McCann at the helm, replacing Darren Ferguson. Was there a real change in feeling around the club?
Yeah, I think there was, to be honest with you. I think a lot of Posh fans were becoming very frustrated with the situation. You know, we waited so long to get back into the championship, and it felt like we shot ourselves in the foot way too many times with decisions being made, and keeping Darren Ferguson was probably one of the biggest mistakes we made. You know, I think a lot of Posh fans will say he should have been gone by Christmas, or at least over Christmas, when we were really starting to get cut adrift from the rest. And then obviously you do get that new manager bounce, and we ended the season pretty positively. You know, as far as we can go in the championship, the football was a lot better. We were being more competitive, and it just looked like the players were more up for it under a new manager, which happens more often than not. You know, they want to impress the new boss, and that happened with Grant McCann. So hopefully that momentum can continue into League One, and hopefully they still have that same, you know, desire and that same commitment to the new boss, and we can have a more positive season. You know, it can't be much worse. So yeah, I think the decision to keep Ferguson as long as we did really did backfire and shot ourselves in the foot with that. But yeah, since Grant McCann's come in, I think there's been a lot more optimism and a lot more positivity around the club. So hopefully that can kickstart into the new League One season.
So it's McCann's second spell as manager of the club, of course. Managed the club for the bulk of 2 seasons, the best part of 2 seasons, an 11th place finish in League One in 2016-17, and then sacked towards the back end of 17-18 after the club fell away from the playoff places. After it was announced that he was going to come in as Ferguson's replacement, what was your initial reaction on the appointment? Were you pleased to see him come back?
I think, to be honest, initially I was a bit just sort of, I wasn't very happy about it. I wasn't like annoyed about it, but I just felt it was the easy appointment. You know, it's very posh to go back to their old managers. You know, we've done it with Ferguson 3 times, now Grant twice. So it didn't really get me that motivated or inspired. But you know, you can't knock his League One record at Hull. He did really well there and won the league with them. And you know, I think from what I've seen so far, to be fair, he's developed a lot than what he was when he was first Peterborough United manager. So I think he's certainly proved me wrong currently, but again, there's a long way to go, and I think this season is going to be massive for him. I think every fan will be on him if it starts going wrong. I think there's a lot of optimism and a lot of hope that we will be up near the top end of the table for the majority of the season, and if not pushing for automatics come the end of the season. So it's a big season for him. He'll be under a lot of pressure from all corners of the club, but so far he's been pretty decent. You know, he was thrown into the deep end last season. We couldn't really judge him. You know, I don't think he was ever going to save us. So it was hard to judge him there, but there were glimpses of what he can do. So now it will be really sort of every decision he makes will be under the microscope, and he'll be proper scrutinised by everyone now. So yeah, it's a big season for him.
It was his first senior managerial role, I believe, the first stint of the club. Obviously, he's gone away and sort of trained himself up and built himself sort of more organically as a manager rather than going into the job after playing for Peterborough as well. So would you say he's improved a lot, obviously, with what he achieved at Hull, and getting Doncaster in the playoffs with what's happened to them since has definitely aged well to be a good job. Would you say that automatic promotion, obviously as a newly relegated side in League One, is a realistic aim, and that McCann is capable of delivering that?
I think it's realistic. I do think it's a possibility that we could do it. I'll be certainly disappointed if we're not at least playoffs. So, yeah, why not go for the automatics? If you're going to be up there or thereabouts, you might as well aim for the top two and go up automatic and not have to worry about the playoffs and the heartbreak that can bring. But I think most posh fans that I've spoken to or interacted with online have been feeling quite confident that we'll mount a challenge. Most non-posh fans that have done predictions and spoken about the league have tipped posh to be fourth, third, and around that area. So I think you've got to be optimistic, and you've got to feel like our squad is good enough to make a real serious challenge for the top two. In Johnson, Clark Harrison, Jack Marriott as a strike force is arguably the strongest you're going to get in League One football. So there's a lot of positives and a lot of reason to believe that we will be up there come next summer.
So as you just touch on there, Posh have been able to keep the majority of their key players this summer and also bring in some intriguing additions. We're going to be touching on those incomings next. So 5 incoming additions so far this summer. Just to rattle them off, it's Ben Thompson, David Ajiboye, Hector Cipriano, Lucas Bergstrom and Harvey Cartwright. As a whole, 2 loan signings and 3 coming in on a permanent basis. Heading into the season, are you feeling well set with those players coming in?
To be honest, obviously the goalkeeper situation was a disaster last season with the Christy Pym situation, and then Di Cornell being thrown in at the deep end and just not being good enough, quite frankly. There's still a lot of doubters, myself included, about having 2 young goalkeepers. I think one's 20 and one's 19. Not a lot of senior football between them. It's a big risk because the goalkeeping position is crucial, as we found out last season. If you don't have a good enough goalkeeper, you won't be where you want to be. So there's a lot of pressure on those 2 young shoulders. One's from Hull and one's from Chelsea, like you said, both on loan. I find it surprising that we've loaned 2 young goalkeepers, because surely the parent clubs would have wanted them to be going away and getting first team football. Obviously, you can only play one goalkeeper, so I don't know who's going to be the main guy there, but that's still a question mark for me. I need to see what they can do at this level, because, like I say, you want usually some experience between the sticks to guide from the back. So that's certainly an area where we're a little bit concerned. But I think the rest of the signings, to be fair, will just be more depth signings than anything. Ben Thompson's looked great in pre-season. I was at the Luton game, which we lost 2-0, but he was really impressive. And I think a lot of fans will like his work rate and will like his tenacity in the middle of the park. But I think for the other 2, they'll probably be more impact players and squad players rather than anything. But, we got the deals done really quite early. So that suggests that the club really wanted them and they were the main targets. So that's reassuring. And yeah, like you said at the beginning, we've kept hold of players, which is key. Johnson Clark Harris is still here. Jack Marriott's still here. Ronnie Edwards is still here currently. Whether that stays the same, I don't know. But we've kept hold of some really good players. And for a League One team, we're looking quite stacked, that's for sure.
Going back to that goalkeeper dilemma, then, as you mentioned, with the 2 players coming in, you'd maybe think that Chelsea would have more sway in terms of demanding first team opportunities for Lucas Bergstrom. But at the moment, in your current thinking, ahead of tomorrow's trip to Cheltenham, who do you think is going to be starting in goal?
Yeah, I think it probably would be Bergstrom. Like you say, the Chelsea push will probably be stronger than the Hull push if there's politics going on at football, which we know there is. So yeah, I would assume he would be starting as number 1 and then go from there. They're his gloves to lose, as they say. So I would imagine that will be the plan for this weekend, and then probably for the first few game weeks, especially.
So definitely some youthful additions, players with their best years ahead of them. Even the players that have come in on permanent basis. David Ajiboye, just 23 years old and somewhat of a raw talent, really bursting onto the scene at Sutton United, playing in the EFL for the first time, I believe, last season on the wing in South London. And then also Hector Cipriano, just 21, coming in from Leyton Orient. We're going to have a look at some of the departures in the next section. So obviously we touched on the goalkeeper situation. Obviously David Cornell moving on to Preston North End. It was Christy Pym, a low move down to League Two. It's just slipped my mind. He definitely had one last season. I'm getting muddled up where it is this campaign. And Stephen Bender going back to his parent club Swansea City. Is there a particular area going into the final sort of month of the transfer window while the season's already started that you think Posh potentially need to strengthen to keep themselves in that category that we are looking at for automatic promotion?
To be honest, I think we're looking pretty solid all over. I think we've got a lot of depth in majority of the positions. So I don't really have it. I don't expect many more additions coming in, that's for sure. Obviously, the future of Ronnie Edwards is yet to be decided. There's obviously a lot of he's spoken about a lot on the Posh fan base online, with a lot of people saying, he should be going for 5, 6, 7 mil, with other people saying that he's not even worth 2 mil. So he's split the fans' opinion quite drastically, because obviously Darren McCann and the Posh owners love to big him up, which rightfully they should. He is a fantastic talent for his age. Whether he goes and then we spend that money on buying more players, I don't know. But I think probably a lot of the rest of the transfer market will depend on whether he goes and how much we get for him. In terms of other positions, I think we've got brilliant options and at least a couple of good options as well per position, which is what you need in a very hectic and a very long Football League calendar.
And one player that moved away on a permanent basis is George Grant, heading up to Scotland and Hearts. A player where it didn't really work out for him in the second tier last season after a strong season with Lincoln City in 2021. Was that a player that you were hoping would be offloaded in the summer?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it just didn't work out. I don't think he found his position. I don't think Posh found his right position or could get him into the team where they wanted him, where he'd be most effective. He showed signs at Lincoln that he's a really good footballer, but for one reason or another, it didn't work here. And I think Grant McCann made it pretty clear early doors that he wasn't in his plans, and he was one player that could be afforded to let go. So I don't think many Posh fans are too disappointed that he's gone up north, that's for sure.
I just wanted to get your thoughts on a couple of players that were at the club last season. There was a flurry of loan signings towards the back end of the January transfer window. Two of them in Barley Mumba and Callum Morton have since had moves back, down into League One as at direct rival clubs potentially to Peterborough this season. I just wanted to check your thoughts on how they contributed in the second half of last season. Obviously, with that sort of small resurgence under Grant McCann, if Morton or Mumba were players that you potentially would have taken on this season.
To be honest, in truth, I probably wouldn't have done. Ballymumba had a brilliant debut in the Cup, scoring a great solo goal, and I think everyone was a bit excited about what he could bring. But defensively, he was very questionable. He was great on the ball, don't get me wrong. He was very composed and he was great with the ball at his feet. But defensive-wise and his position awareness and stuff, he was just not ready for the Championship, especially. Obviously, he's down in League One with us now this season, but he wasn't one that I would have been desperate to get back. And same for Morton, he didn't really do much. He showed a bit of sort of energy and a bit of pressing from the top, but overall, they just didn't do enough in their loan spells to warrant us being interested in them again. So, I mean, at League One, they'll probably both do a really good job, but I don't think many Posh fans, myself included, were calling for them to return to the club.
Posh definitely one of the most well set sides, and it would seem, heading into the League One campaign, particularly in that attacking contingent. We're going to be looking into what their opening fixtures look like in the next section. So an intriguing first quartet for the Posh in League One. The first two matches, Cheltenham Town away and Morecambe at home, very closely followed by Plymouth Argyle away, I think with a cup match sandwiched in between, and then Sheffield Wednesday at home. To focus on the first two in particular, without maybe being too bullish and demanding too much of the team already, are you looking at that and thinking anything but 6 points would be something of a disappointment?
No, absolutely. It's a proper, without being disrespectful, it's a proper crash back down to League One from being in the Championship to go Cheltenham away and Morecambe at home. But listen, we're in the same league as them, so it's a fair play field. We can't take them. We can't take it for granted, and we can't just assume because we're going to turn up, we're going to get 6 points because we're a better side. It doesn't work like that. Football doesn't work like that. And Grant and Cam will know that. The players will know that. We've been in this league before, and it's a tough league. But yeah, absolutely, we want 6 points on these 2 fixtures. We want to set a big benchmark to start with. We want to send a message to the rest of the league and say we're ready to push for the title, not just for playoffs. So we've been handed quite a nice start in terms of Cheltenham away and then Morecambe at home. And if we don't get 6 points, I think fans will be a bit upset and a bit annoyed. But listen, it's the start of the season. Anything can happen in the first few weeks. You just don't know where other clubs are at. You don't know where sometimes you don't even know where your own players are at fitness wise, or, last season our players returned seriously unfit. It doesn't look the case this year, but you just never know early doors what sort of performance you're going to get. But you certainly look at the first 2 fixtures and say, okay, 6 points there. Plymouth away is always tricky. You never know what sort of Plymouth are going to get. And then you've got the big Tuesday night game against Sheffield Wednesday, which will be the first real mouth-watering tie for the posh fans this season. But again, you're at home. You want to be able to say you can feel confident that you can win all your home games, or at least most of your home games, and get good returns there. So we've got quite a nice start, I think, and I think we should be looking at getting a fair few points from the first few games.
Absolutely, that Wednesday match is very exciting. Hosting the favourites with the bookmakers to win the League One title so early on in the campaign. If you were to put a figure on it, how many points you'd like to take, and realistically you can see McCann taking from those first 4 fixtures, what would it be?
Well, I did a show actually on Sunday just gone, and we looked at the first 5 games, and I said 10 points. I predicted maybe we might slip up away at Plymouth, and then I predicted a draw, I think, against Sheffield Wednesday. So I think from the first 4, I think 7 would be a solid start. But then again, you want to win your home games even against, your Sheffield Wednesdays. So if we can win that, you just don't know. So I think 7 as a minimum, a bare minimum, is what Posh want to be aiming for at least. The first 2 games we want to be winning. And then you can go to Plymouth with a little less pressure on you, which we're very capable of going to Plymouth and winning. Absolutely. There's no reason why we can't do that and say, we can win our first 3. And then Sheffield Wednesday, even if you take a point, it's not a terrible result. So I think we should be looking at a positive start, that's for sure.
Definitely a crucial opening 2 games to get everyone on side and behind the promotion push then at Peterborough. I'm going to be getting a league position prediction off Alex next. So it feels like the expectation is for Posh to bounce straight back to the Championship this season, or at least have a very good go at it. With that in mind, and the transfer business that's taken place this summer, if I had to push you for a league finish in the 2022-23 season, where's your head at the moment?
It's tough because League One, there always seems to be teams that you think will do well that don't do well, and you think teams that you don't consider that then all of a sudden do really well. So it's a tough league, and it's a really strong competitive league this year, I think. So I don't think we'll get automatics. I just have this feeling that we won't be strong enough to go up automatic. I don't know why, and I couldn't even name the 2 teams that I think are going to be 100% stronger than us. I just have this pessimistic feeling that we're not going to do top 2. So I think it'll be playoffs, and then it could literally be anywhere from 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. But I think 4th is probably a safe bet, I reckon. And I'd probably take that now if you offered it to me as well, to be honest.
Okay, so Alex going for a 4th place finish for the Posh this season is what is set to be a very strong League One field. So that brings us to the end of today's show, looking at Peterborough's prospects in the 2022-23 season. And that brings the week to an end on Football League World TV. We hope you've enjoyed it, and make sure that you enjoy the weekend and the first round of fixtures in the EFL. All that leaves me to say is thank you very much for joining me, Alex. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.